There is no shortage of movies that involve drama on a plane. Sometimes it's snakes, other times it's terrorists, and other times it's creatures on the wing. Blood Red Sky is the newest iteration to hit Netflix, so should this German action horror be on your list? A woman with a mysterious illness is forced into action when a group of terrorists attempt to hijack a transatlantic overnight flight. In order to protect her son, she will have to reveal a dark secret that she has fought to hide. So I'm going to go on the thought process that you haven't seen the teaser or the trailer for this movie, and I'm going to avoid discussing a certain plot point because if you haven't seen the teaser, this will provide some good excitement for the film. It also means I'll be a little vague in points. So this is told from sort of a flashback perspective and then contains additional flashbacks within it. It's not nearly as convoluted as that sounds. A plane is hijacked, and when it lands, a young boy is the only passenger to get out and get to safety by the military. The boy's obviously in shock, and we kind of go into his mind as the events that led up to this point play out. Nadja and Elias are a mom and son who are traveling to the US in order for Nadja to get medical treatment for her condition. The story does slowly piece events together, but it doesn't just lay everything out right at the get-go. Nadja looks to be in a fragile state due to her condition, and Elias works to help her out a lot. They have a really good relationship. And he's a cute kid, and we see a good level of self-reliance as he's had to grow up faster than he really should have just because his mom needs him to help out. Now, there's a tension to the story that builds almost immediately as the passengers board the plane. The tone that's created from the music and the camera angles leads us to know that something wonky is just about to happen. When the action starts, it's quite violent and bloody. I was actually surprised at the start at how violent some of the actions are. And once the first bit of action begins, the story then doesn't really ever let up on the throttle. It's pretty much a go, go, go type of pace. And this works to amp up the anxiety and urgency to the story. And while we don't know the full endgame of what's to come, we can be fairly certain it's going to be crazy. I love the close quarters, claustrophobic setting of the plane. It's not like anyone could just leave when it gets too uncomfortable, nor can anyone just jump out like if they were in a car or even a train. There are a finite amount of areas in which to hide or shelter, and this also works to really create suspense, which then is accomplished pretty well in the movie. And there's another level of craziness that the story creates through a central plot point, and then it gets insane. The excitement ratchets up and there is pure craziness inside that plane. Something that I wasn't expecting but was pleasantly surprised by is the level of emotionality that is brought to the story. There's some internal conflict with the character, and that struggle is both engaging and then heartbreaking. In one sense, this movie reminded me of Train to Busan. The sympathy and emotion that is able to be elicited by an action horror was really surprising. I think Train to Busan did it better and more effectively, but there were portions here where you could maybe see that film as sort of a tonal inspiration. I think probably the biggest weakness of this movie is the length. It's 121 minutes, and there are some sequences that just go on and on. When this happens, the scenes begin to lose their punch and their effectiveness when it comes to emotion. And all we end up watching really is just a lot of violence. And the violence was already there, but at a certain point we just become dulled to what we're seeing and we begin to check out emotionally from the story's heart. I think a lot of this is cleverly told, although some portions may have been able to be fleshed out more. Nadja is traveling for her treatment, and it could have been more engaging or at least informative if we got a small bit of understanding of what that treatment's going to be. And this becomes especially true when we consider what her affliction is. Certain questions are raised about her physician and how he's able to help her. I think the acting is done well, and we really do get some emotional performances, not only from Nadja and Elias, but also from another passenger, Farid. Now, some of the bad guys are kind of rote examples of antagonists, but I do like some of the complexities that a couple of them bring. One is incredibly unhinged, and so much so that he makes his compadres wary of him. Then there's another who seems to have sort of a conscience, and that is effective in creating conflict between the characters as well as for the story. There's a certain level of special effects employed here too, and I thought they were pretty impressive. The vast majority are practical effects, and they look stunning and real. Now, there are a couple of moments that show the exterior of the plane as it's flying, and those do look like they're computer generated. The themes of love, protection, healing, and trust are explored in this story, and while not each of them is fully developed, overall their inclusion helped to craft an emotionally engaging story that just happens to be filled with violence, terror, and gore. So despite this feeling like it was a little too long with some unnecessarily drawn out scenes and perhaps some predictability, Blood Red Sky delivers an action-packed thrill ride in a claustrophobic setting with characters that are both powerful and sympathetic, and then mixes emotion with violence to create an engaging horror story. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and an absolute ton of bloody and gory violence. I give Blood Red Sky 4 out of 5 couches. Have you been looking forward to this one? What are some recent horror movies that you've enjoyed? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.